bitch. Okay. I'm your host, not for possession, Narcissa Deville, and welcome to hell. Oh, you guys, I am so excited. This was episode 2 of Drag Race All-Stars 3. This was, of course, a very amazing VH1 Divas Lip Sync Live. This was really exciting to me. When I saw it last week, I was like, oh my god, how is this gonna go? Like, they're all lip syncing as different divas. And of course, I'm gonna get into that. But first, let's start at the very beginning with Bendela's reaction and how, like, I just feel like she was very, almost a little overly dramatically sad about the fact that she sent Morgan home last week. I mean, that is part of the competition. I think by now these queens kind of understand what the expectation is. We saw this last year. It was pretty, I can't say it was obvious, but I think it was definitely pretty standard at this point that this was going to be how season 3 went down of All Stars and how they were going to be sending people home. So I kind of felt like her reaction to having to send someone home was a little bit overdramatic. And then, of course, we get the big reveal, the question everyone always wants to know: who would the other person have sent home? Well, Miss Aja was very happy to say it was Chi Chi DeVille. And I kind of really have to agree with that. I really feel like Chi Chi really just didn't give it, unfortunately. I think Morgan was low, but I think a lot of the critiques of Chi Chi were kind of worse, unfortunately, especially for like how flat her hair was, her shoes, kind of her whole performance. And then, of course, as some of you may or may not know, if you follow Willem on Instagram, Willem did say that Chi Chi did drop her baton multiple times, but that was edited out for reasons we really don't know at this point in time. But it just became the sort of thing that, you know, if that's the case, then she really did deserve to go home. But let's get into this next challenge. So this challenge was all about VH1 Divas Lip Sync Live, and it was absolutely fabulous. So let's go through really quickly and talk about who everyone got to portray. So Milk, of course, was Celine Dion, which I thought was really an interesting choice. Kennedy Davenport was Janet Jackson, which I thought was kind of perfect. Aja was Amy Winehouse, which I thought was an interesting choice because of all the divas that they chose, and let me just say, I know this is going to be petty, but I still want to know why Madonna is not on this list. And I think of all the divas we think about, it's really interesting that Madonna isn't on this list, but someone like Amy Winehouse is. To me, a diva is someone who maybe had more of an attitude, who is kind of expected. I mean, one of the divas, of course, is the Mariah Carey. And, you know, Mariah is, I think, what we expect to be the diva. So of all the people that were kind of chosen for this list, somehow Beyonce was left off, which I'm sure a lot of people were pressed about, but that's a whole nother thing as well. Although I do think Madonna and Beyonce being left off this list is kind of surprising. Chi Chi DeVille as Patti LaBelle. I wasn't really sure what to expect about this. I don't really follow Chi Chi outside of Drag Race, so I really couldn't tell you whether or not she was the right choice for that. I know a lot of the queens after the fact said they felt like the divas that they got really fit their personalities for the most part. For example, obviously Trixie Mattel was Dolly Parton, and I felt like that was completely fitting. I can't think of anyone better to play Dolly Parton besides the queen who does country music. Like, that's Trixie's thing right now, so I just felt like she was kind of the perfect choice for that. Then, of course, Miss Shangela, who played Mariah Carey, who was giving you full Mariah Carey fantasy from the moment she was picked. She was giving you all the Mariah Carey. And I kind of have to love that. I think that's a good strategy. And I think in a lot of ways that also can unnerve some of the other contestants, because it's like, why is she doing this like right this minute? So I thought that was a really interesting strategy. Next up, we had Thorgy as Stevie Nicks. Again, I think that's an odd choice for a diva, but I think it's perfect for Thorgy, and she seems like I feel like Stevie Nicks was right on her alley. Next up, we had Ben de la Creme as Julie Andrews, which of course we kind of knew from the promo. I think that is an interesting choice. Again, it kind of gives you very Maggie Smith from season 6. So I think it's perfect. It's a character. I think when you do someone like Julie Andrews, you kind of want to play up like her Mary Poppins vibe, her Sound of Music vibe, which I think was the outfit that Dela was serving you on the actual challenge. So I think it was kind of perfect. And then last but not least, Miss BB was Diana Ross. Now, again, I don't know a lot about BB since her season, but I think her being Diana Ross with her, you know, giant hair and her outfits, I think it's kind of perfect. So I think this is going to be, I was so excited about this challenge. I was so excited about how this was going to go. So let us get into the main challenge. Now, obviously, there was a lot of drama with like the practicing. Miss Shady Mattel, I love her to death. Trixie has been our shadiest queen this season, reading everyone left, right, and center. But there's this really interesting drama that goes on when they do the practice for the main challenge. I've always noticed that when their main challenge is something that's like singing and dancing, there's always a lot of drama, and most of the time there's this like idea that they all look terrible and then somehow just pull it out magically. It's this really weird thing. There was a bit of tension between Kennedy Davenport and Todrick because, of course, Kennedy said that a lot of her dancing is unchoreographed, and so having to learn these choreographed moves was very, very difficult for her. And playing Janet Jackson, obviously there is kind of a very high expectation for you on that. Then, of course, you know, there was the whole Milk and Shangela drama. Milk is throwing a lot of shade. And it's interesting because they kind of did this thing where Milk was very, very overconfident. If you've watched the show a lot, and as much as I have, you start to notice certain patterns in how Drag Race handles certain things in editing. When someone is especially cocky, that's usually the person who's either in the bottom or probably going home. At least that's kind of how it has been. So the fact that Milk was so cocky about how good she was and how nobody could touch her was really, really interesting to me. And I was like, oh, this bitch is in trouble because she's getting cocky and that never ends well. Let us talk about Ru's entrance look. I have very mixed feelings on this look. If you look at it, it's gorgeous because it's Ru, and I think she can pull off pretty much anything, but it's honestly not one of my favorite looks of hers. The coloring just kind of bothered me a lot. The, like, rouging, it looked like, just kind of bothered me a lot. There's just a lot of things I really didn't care for about this look, as opposed to the look from the last episode, which I thought was really, really stunning. I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. So let's get into the performances. First up was Milk as Celine Dion singing Peanut Butter. Now, this is an interesting choice for a song for Celine Dion, and I think the point was to choose songs that were kind of ridiculous, especially for these like super, I don't want to say serious, but I think Celine Dion is definitely more of like an emotional singer. She's very a serious songwriter. She's not like, you know, just writing crazy lyrics. Like her songs are very emotional and emotionally evocative. So for her to be singing Peanut Butter, which is literally like a very ridiculous song that I adore, it kind of seems like it's a weird juxtaposition, and I love it. I thought Milk did pretty good, you know. I don't know. She didn't look as much like Celine Dion as I think she could have. Her hair was a bit off to me for some reason, but I think she did a good job for the most part. Next up was Miss Janet, done of course by Kennedy Davenport, and she was singing Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent. Now this is one of RuPaul's newer songs from the American album, so it's not actually well known as far as songs go, but I actually thought it was kind of fitting for Janet to sing it. I thought at the time Kennedy did well. You know, it wasn't as Janet as one would expect. You know, the era that she was kind of portraying, which was more of like the Rhythm Nation era, it wasn't really giving you that. But next up we have Aja as Amy Winehouse. I didn't really feel like she quite had the words down for some reason. And maybe that was because she was doing kind of the like Amy Winehouse kind of like drunken look. She really had the look down, and I felt like she was really serving you that Amy Winehouse energy, and maybe that's why her words didn't quite seem to match up. Oh, and Aja was singing You Wear It Well. Next up was Chi Devane as Patti LaBelle singing Jealous of My Boogie. Now, this went off really, really well with the judges. I really kind of felt mixed about it. You know, the thing about Chi is, like, I adore her, but also, I don't know. I don't know enough maybe about Patti LaBelle to really have an opinion. I thought it was interesting. The judges really seemed to like it. I was like, well, okay, maybe. It was. Next up was Trixie Mattel as, of course, Dolly Parton. Who else could she possibly be? And she was singing Adrenaline. Now, this is a song we got to see done really, really well in season 8 during the Bitch Perfect challenge. And I thought it was done kind of really funny by Thorgy and Chi and all of that. So to see Trixie Mattel do it in a country style was interesting. I thought Trixie did really, really well. I thought she was really kind of funny. Next up, we had Miss Shangela as the ever incomparable Mariah Carey, aka Mimi, aka the elusive Chanteuse, aka I don't know her. And she was not really singing about anything particular. She was singing about herself, which I thought was really, really funny. And I know Thorgy had this whole like conspiracy that Shangela was set up to win because her part was really just so funny, and she felt like her part was just kind of like, you know, middle of the road, which, I mean, it was, but that wasn't Shangela's fault. I think Shangela doing a comedic role is obviously the smart choice. Shangela proved in season 3 that she's extremely funny. She's proved since then that she's really good at what she does. So I think it was the obvious choice. I thought she was really funny. I thought it was a really good performance. So, sorry, Thorgy. Wow. Next up, like directly following her, was Thorgy as Stevie Nicks, and she was singing Born Naked. Now, I thought the look was really good. I think we all kind of have, if you know anything about Stevie Nicks and you've seen anything about her, you kind of have a very specific view of her. I think Madonna really served you Stevie Nicks in the Ghost Town music video, if you've ever seen that. So this kind of gave you that sort of style of Stevie Nicks. She had the top hat, the long blonde hair. It was a very cute look. But I do think it was underperformed, and that's kind of to be expected. Stevie Nicks is not necessarily, again, I don't really think she's a diva in the way we think of it. And I think diva is one of those terms that it's like, you know, yes, we expect diva to mean someone who's like very over the top, very like grand, very like just, you know, like a drag queen, except usually a cis woman. So the fact that Thorgy got this role of Stevie Nicks, it's an interesting choice, I think, overall. And unfortunately, you know, that really didn't pay off for her performance. Next up, we had Miss Ben de la Creme as Julie Andrews rapping Call Me Mother. Now, Call Me Mother is one of my all-time favorite songs. I spent a lot of time figuring out how to lip sync that song because it's really tough and it took me a long time. And then Ru admitted that it took her 5 days to record that song. So I felt a little better about my life and my struggles to lip sync that song because it's really good. The thing I will say about Ben's performance is, yes, of course it was funny because she's playing Julie Andrews. I honestly didn't feel like she quite had the lyrics on point. Now, maybe that was just me because obviously, you know, the judges loved her. I just didn't feel it with this song, and this is a very, very hard song to do, especially in, like, probably the hour that they honestly had to practice it. Maybe a couple hours, let's be honest, but I think with the way things are condensed, I know there probably wasn't enough time that she could have, like, really learned all the lyrics. However, that said, I didn't feel like her performance was that great. And last but not least, we had Miss BB as Diana Ross singing Main Event, which I think was kind of the perfect song for Diana Ross and BB. Again, I hate to sound like a millennial or a young person who does not know their history and does not know their divas, because I really try and make it a point too. I love a lot of Diana Ross songs. I love the Supremes, but I don't really know a lot about Diana Ross as a performer. I know her songs, but I don't really see her as like a performer. I've never like watched any of her things, so I don't really know what to make of that. I will say BB's Diana Ross was a lot better than Milan's in season 4. Not that that was a really big, like, jump. So next up, let's get into their runway looks. The runway theme this week was Redemption, remaking your Drag Race fashion fails from the runway, starting with Milk. So Milk redid her crazy, sexy, cool look from season 6. This was the look that actually, I believe, sent her home. And she looked so gorgeous, so glamorous. I love the red hair on her. This is a really interesting look because it's not at all what we expect from Milk, but I thought she looked absolutely stunning. It was head to toe stunning. I think it really gave her and it was sexy actually, you know, it gave you that crazy, sexy, cool. It was just so stunning. I loved it. Next up was Miss Aja, reliving her Princess Disaster look. And I have to say, this was incredible to me. Like, the glow up was, yes, bitch. I loved it. I was like, this is sickening. This is gorgeous. And, you know, I didn't necessarily dislike her original look. I thought it was interesting and it was kind of unique, although her storyline was a little bit lacking. But this look just really took it to the next level and really, I think, exemplified what she was trying to say at the time. Next up, we have Miss Chi Chi in her neon fantasy look, and I actually thought this was really, really pretty. It was very like Pan Am stewardess. She had the little pillbox hat. She had like the dripping neon paint. It was just really, really stunning. And then, of course, this time she made sure she was cinched so that Miss Michelle Visage could not read her. I just thought this look was absolutely stunning for Chi Chi. Next up, we have Miss Trixie Mattel in the Ugliest Dress Challenge, and boy, did she nail it. This dress was painful to look at. Now, it did give me a little bit of Violet Chachki vibes. You know how she had like that like rainbow with all the flowers on it? That kind of was what Trixie was giving you, except hers was 50 shades of pink and flowers. It was hideous. It was so painfully hideous, and can I take a moment? Can I take a moment? It was so hideous. Next up was Miss Kennedy Davenport giving you her Death Becomes Her realness. I'm kind of fascinated by Kennedy right now and her really playing with the whole Club Kid vibe, because when she came out in this look, which was definitely like an upgraded version of her previous Death Becomes Her look, I was like, okay, somebody's really getting into the Club Kid. Like, her face was hidden, and then of course there was that reveal, and everything was jeweled and light and beautiful. It was almost like supposed to be her soul. I was like, okay, bitch, okay, I see what you're doing. It was a little bit too similar to her entrance look to All Stars 3, so I was a little bit disappointed there. But actually, I actually thought it was better than her entrance look, to be honest with you. I think the diamonds are way better than the mirrors, and they're more reflective, too. Next up, we have Miss Thorgy, also in her neon look, and this was giving you very, like, Bride of Frankenstein. It was very, very odd. She had, like, this, like, pointed headpiece, big eyebrow. It was actually kind of stunning, but it was really strange, which I think you expect for Thorgy at this point. And I kind of loved it in a weird way because of that whole, like, Bride of Frankenstein vibe. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it at first, but the more I look at it and the more I think about it, it's her. It's her, and I kind of love that. Next up, we have Miss Dela in her dripping in jewels look. this is really cute. You know, I didn't necessarily think that what she did in season 6 was that terrible. I kind of thought that it was cute, but I get what they were saying at the time, that it was just, you know, oh, it's another costume, it's kind of boring, it's not that much, and of course that is the look that sent her home. But I really actually loved this look. I love her, like, 20s kind of flapper with her long cigarette holder. The whole thing was really an experience for me. So I definitely feel like her look, her runway look, made up for kind of what I was disappointed with the challenge. Next up, and of course, last but not least, oh no, not last, excuse me, I lied. Next up, we had Miss Bibi Zahara Benet redoing her entrance look, and I have to say, I actually like this better than her entrance from All Stars 3, actually, yet again. I thought it was really, really cute, really, really well done. Obviously, she's giving you Devil Wears Prada. It's very, very sleek, stunning. It was just gorgeous, and I really, really liked it. Last but not least, we have Miss Shangela giving you Christmas Eleganza, and all I can say to this is, yes, bitch, yes! This is... Here's the thing, okay? It's kind of a simple look in terms of, like, her actual outfit. She had this interesting, like, Acid Betty style, like, radio receivers on her ears. She had little... It was a bodysuit, and she had broken Christmas tree ornaments going down. But I think what really set this look apart for me was the actual snow globe she was in. Because her original look was giving you very, like, Shanji and a snowman that she called Frostula, and it was very, like, cute and kitschy, but then to see her in this, like, snow globe look with an actual, like, snow globe, I thought was really, really fucking cool, and I think that really, really served to help her in this challenge. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty. So, of course, our top 3 was Shangela, Bibi, and Dela. And of course, our bottom 3 was Chi-Chi, Thorgy, and Kennedy Davenport, leaving Aja, Milk, and Trixie to be safe. Now, Milk was very unhappy that she was just safe. She really, I think, felt like she did such a good job in the performance. And of course, Miss Trixie, in her confessional, was the shady bitch we expect from her. And she was like, your Celine was not all that. But she was very, very devastated that she was not in the top 3. And, you know, I have to say, her runway look was great. Milk's runway look was incredible. Her Celine, again, I really wasn't that impressed. You know, it's not that it was bad necessarily. I just felt like it wasn't the best Celine that she could have done. Again, the hair, something wasn't right there. But neither here nor there. I think safe is better than nothing, so I'm kind of surprised, like, how, you know, bitter she is about this, to be honest. In the end, Dela and Shangela were left to lip sync Jump by the Pointer Sisters, and surprisingly, I wasn't sure who was going to win this because, you know, after Dela won the last one and after she was kind of pulling the comedy gig again, and they seemed to be enjoying that again, I was like, okay, well, Dela's going to win. It seems like they really liked her performance the best. They really like her look. So I was like, okay, you know what, fine. Dela's going to win. But actually, I was gagged. And Miss Shangela turned it out. And this was an interesting bottom 2. Because, of course, Kennedy and Thorgy were in the bottom 2. I think of the both of them, it's kind of hard to say. They both kind of got even critiques. I think Kennedy really was considered that she didn't know the words and she really didn't look like Janet. Thorgy, it was kind of the same issue. She really didn't look like Stevie Nicks that much. And she had a habit of, like, over-speaking Vanessa Williams while they were getting the critiques. Like, she was over-talking her a lot. She was kind of over-talking everybody. And it just really looks bad. I don't know what it is, but when a queen starts talking over one of the judges, it's so uncomfortable to watch. You're just like, bitch, shut up for a second. You are, like, stop. It's so embarrassing. It's like secondhand embarrassment for me. So, being the bottom 2 were Kennedy and Thorgy, it really could have been any of them. And this was interesting because the top 2 really had a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours attitude. And it seemed very clear that Thorgy was willing to take sides as much as anybody, as was Kennedy. And ultimately, Shangela won the challenge this week, or the lip sync, and she sent Thorgy home. And I was actually really surprised about that. Okay, so final thoughts. I'm just kind of, well, I'm a little bit shook, okay? Let me be real. It's going to be interesting next week to see what ends up happening and who Miss Dela would have picked had she won. I mean, I feel like in Dela's case last episode, it was very, very clear she was going to pick Morgan. It was very, very clear that, you know, she had kind of a bias reason. It isn't as obvious as it was last week, where it was kind of like she very heavily implied she was going to send Morgan home. So I think it'll be interesting to see going forward how that works out and how Miss Shangela saving her good Judy ends up affecting her in the future. Now, she made it very clear that if she does a favor for a sister, she expects the favor to be returned to her. So I feel like if Shangela is ever in the bottom and Kennedy has the opportunity to save her, if she doesn't, that would be a real gag, especially when Kennedy took the point to say that $100,000 wasn't worth a friendship, which, maybe it's because I'm a Slytherin. I kind of don't see that logic. You're in a competition at the end of the day, friendships are kind of, if your friendship is going to be ruined because of a competition, I don't think that was necessarily the strongest friendship to begin with. You're both competing against each other for the same prize, and you both know what the expectation is of you. At the end of the day, you both can't share it in spite of Kennedy's obsession. Or no, that was Ginger who wanted to split it between her and Kennedy, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, you can't share it, so, like, friendship is great and all, but it's not like you're going to carry each other to the top 3. This is not season 2, and you are not Roxy Andrews, boo. Oh, that rhymed. Yes, rhyme. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I'm your host, not for possession, Narcissa Deville, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up. Comment down below. Tell me, who is your favorite performer tonight? What is your all-time favorite Ru song? And please, please give me a subscribe. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me at Narcissa Deville on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/Narcissa Deville. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.